you guys did it. You have now pushed this channel over the 50,000 subscriber mark. That's impressive. And the reason I say you guys did it is because I've seen you sharing these videos, I've seen you tagging your friends in them, and man, I just wanna say thank you guys for pushing this channel to that 50,000 subscriber mark. That's what I hoped for all of 2020, and you guys have now done it by May 4th.
May the force be with you.
Very, very impressive. Keep spreading the word, keep sharing out videos when you find one and you say, man, my buddy Carl would like this video. Send it to him because that's how we've gotten to 50,000, and that's how we'll get to 100,000. Okay, in today's Quick Tip Tuesday, we are talking DSLR versus mirrorless cameras, what they are, how they're different, and which one you should buy in 2020. Spoiler alert though, this video should really be called You'd Be Crazy to Buy a DSLR in 2020. Let me explain. I know there's already a bunch of you DSLR shooters from, DSLRs are the best. They're always gonna be the best. They're not, but I'll tell you why they're not. And as always, this week's Quick Tip Tuesday is brought to you guys by Epidemic Sound, the leader in YouTube music licensing and the soundtrack for every video on this channel. Whatever song I have playing right now is from Epidemic Sound. If you need music for your YouTube videos, click the link in the description, shoot over to Epidemic Sound, and they'll hook you up with a free trial. Dig around their library, download some songs, play around with them, make some videos, post them online, all part of the free trial. Okay, into today's video, and again, we are talking DSLR versus mirrorless cameras, how they work, what they are, how they're different, and which one you should buy now. But like I teased in the intro, I've been an advocate for mirrorless cameras since late 2015, so 4.5 years now. I've been saying mirrorless cameras are the future. I bought my first mirrorless camera in September of 2015, and I got ridiculed for it at the time. But now, all my friends are switching to mirrorless cameras, and I'm like, ha ha ha, vindicated. Okay, first up, what's the difference between DSLR and mirrorless? How do they function differently? Why is one called DSLR and one's called mirrorless? Well, I drew you a picture. Check this out. Okay, this is a DSLR camera. This is my very bad drawing of one, but I'll show you how it works. If we weren't quarantined and all that right now, I'd go borrow a DSLR from somebody and really show you, but this will get the idea across. Okay, on a DSLR, when you look through the viewfinder, also called the OVF or optical viewfinder, you're actually seeing light coming straight through the lens. So light comes in through the lens, hits a mirror that's at a 45-degree angle inside there, shoots it straight up into a prism where it goes dink, dink, shoots out the optical viewfinder and into your eye. That's how you see the picture that you're about to take. Then when you're ready to take the shot, you press the shutter release button. The mirror actually flips up out of the way. The light then goes straight, hits the sensor. Your digital sensor records the image. Then as soon as that process is done, the mirror flips back down and you can see again. So when you're looking through a DSLR going click, 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 and it turns black, it's because the mirror inside that the light is hitting your eyeball through is actually getting up out of the way so the sensor can see the light and record the image. And then the mirror flips back down so you can see out the lens again. It's almost like looking through a periscope because the light coming through the lens, hitting the mirror, going up to the prism and hitting your eye, it has nothing to do with the exposure that you're actually capturing. That's why you'll see a lot of DSLR shooters go like this and they go click, 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 click. And then they look down at their rear screen to look at their image and they go, oh, that's too dark. They pull it back up, they change a couple of settings, they go click, click, click. They look again. This is called chimping because you look like a chimp. DSLRs is where the term chimping came from because what you see through the optical viewfinder has nothing to do with your actual exposure. So you look through there, there's a little meter inside there that helps you a little bit. You kind of get your settings dialed in, you take the shot, and then you look down and you go, it's too dark. So you adjust your settings, you pull it back up, you take another shot, you look down and you go, okay, now I got it. And then you can shoot away. But again, the reason that it has nothing to do with it is because the light is just going through and bouncing and there's nothing to do with the sensor. It's not really telling you anything. Now on a mirrorless camera, like this guy, the light comes through the lens, it hits the sensor, which then creates a digital readout, and it sends it electronically up to a small screen inside of the EVF, or electronic viewfinder, and then that hits your eye because you're looking at a little screen. So inside of a mirrorless camera like this, inside of here, when I put my eye up to it, I'm actually looking at a very tiny screen. So there's no mirror between the lens and the sensor. That's the sensor right there. The light goes straight through the lens, hits the sensor, that just sends a digital readout to this screen or the rear screen. They're the same, there's no difference between them. On a DSLR, when you look through here, it's OVF, optical viewfinder. When you look back here, it's the readout of the image that you just shot. But on a mirrorless, they're the same. So I could put this into, and you could see that's the actual image that it's about to record. And if I looked through there, which I don't think I'm gonna be able to show you this, there's no way you can see in there. If I looked through there right now, it's the same image because it's just an electronic readout of the light hitting the sensor. But the massive benefit of that is that the image that I'm looking at through either the electronic viewfinder or the rear display, before I take the image, is the image. I'm previewing the image that I take. So when I press the button, all it does is record what I'm looking at. So as I change the settings, like the aperture or the shutter speed, if I speed up the shutter, I will actually see my image get darker. So when I look through here, I'm looking at the image I'm going to capture, which is totally different than a DSLR. There's no chimping in a mirrorless camera. I look through there and I go, oh, it's too dark. I don't take the picture. I adjust, I tweak my settings, I get it just right. Oh, it looks perfect. Now I take the picture. There's no chimping with mirrorless cameras because what you see is what you get. This is gonna be a very crude way of showing you. But if you look at that, now watch what happens when I change my settings. I'm changing my aperture to a higher aperture and it's getting darker. If I take the picture, it's dark. And then if I roll my aperture the other way and I open it up and it gets brighter, I see it, I take the picture, and it's a brighter picture. And that is what I've been saying for 4 years about mirrorless cameras, why they're incredible and amazing and awesome, is that I actually see what I'm going to shoot, which means I don't shoot as many images on a wedding day or in a photo shoot because I don't take any test shots. There's no click, 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 that's not good, click, 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 nope, still not good, click, click, okay, I nailed it. There's none of that. I hold the camera up, I go, that's not good. Adjust the settings, that's good. And then I take the picture. And because it's a digital readout, I can have things like levels on the screen, I can see my histogram on the screen, and that's all in the EVF as well. Just looking through here, I can see my histogram, I can see my meter, I can see a level so that I know that the camera is level or not. I can have all that information because it's an electronic viewfinder. So how a DSLR and a mirrorless camera operate, how they actually take in light, send it to the sensor, and what you're actually looking at is different. But when you press the shutter button and the mirror on the DSLR flips out of the way, the light hits the digital sensors and captures the image digitally. That's the same. And where DSLR cameras used to be the best of the best cameras that they were, mirrorless cameras have caught up and now surpassed their DSLR counterparts. You see that with Sony, and they've pretty much fully gone mirrorless, and now Canon with their new EOS R and EOS R5, which is kind of showing you that Canon is going the route of mirrorless. So the function is different, but not just the function, because if you remove that mirror box, you end up with a camera that can be significantly smaller and lighter. Again, if we weren't in lockdown right now, I would get my hands on a DSLR and you'd see that this thing is significantly smaller than a DSLR camera, because the DSLR needs to house that mirror, that big old mirror sitting at 45 degrees, it needs to flip out of the way. That takes up a lot of space. And without it, with just the sensor in there, you save a lot of space and the whole thing ends up smaller. The lenses are still about the same size. The lenses did not get smaller because the camera got smaller. So now you just end up with a small camera body and a big lens. But overall, the system itself is smaller and lighter. So size is a big benefit when working with mirrorless cameras. Even Canon's new EOS R5 looks to be significantly smaller than its counterpart, the 5D Mark IV. And it looks like it can do way more than the 5D Mark IV in its mirrorless body. Because one thing that the new R5 has, and most mirrorless cameras have, including almost all the Sonys, in-body image stabilization. The sensor itself on most mirrorless cameras, in there, the sensor is on like a little spring system and can stabilize. In addition to the stabilization that's happening with the lens, you also get in-body stabilization all together, really shockingly reducing camera shake, which is going to allow you to get cleaner and crisper images even at lower shutter speeds. And then of course there's features like eye tracking, where I can actually press a button in the back, it switches it into eye tracking mode, and a little box pops up over my subject's eyeball. It knows it's their eyeball, it focuses on just their eyeball, and even as they move around, it follows their eyeball and continues tracking them, and then I just go brr, 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 and it's all in focus. And it's not focused on their nose or their ear, it's right on their eyeball. It's crazy good. And the new Canon R5 also has that, and everyone's freaking out about it. They're very excited about it, but the Sony has had that since September of 2015. So while I am also excited about the R5, a lot of the features that people are really excited about are just new to Canon people. They're not new, they're just new to Canon shooters. Because Sony's had it for like 4 years. Okay, what other fun tricks do mirrorless cameras? Oh, mirrorless cameras can shoot totally silently, which is unique. A lot of the newer DSLRs have something called silent mode, where it's quieter. That thunk of the mirror flapping is silenced a little bit. It's quieter instead of thunk, it's like thunk. But a mirrorless camera that normally sounds like this can be, I just take the picture. Did you hear it? You didn't hear it, because it doesn't make a sound. It is totally silent, just like your iPhone, which is also a mirrorless camera. Any sort of camera like this, iPhones or point and shoot cameras, those are all mirrorless cameras. And so is this, and they can all do totally silent mode if you need them to. Okay, those are all the fun party tricks that my mirrorless camera can do, but why do I say it would be crazy to buy a DSLR in 2020? It's because of the future. Back in 2015, Sony made a big bet on mirrorless, and honestly, it paid off huge. They became the number 2 seller, I think they're number 2 seller of full frame cameras. They might be number 1. They might have actually taken that from Canon. I can't remember. I should look this up. Sony is the best-selling full frame camera in the United States. I'm not sure if it's the world, but in the United States, Sony took over the lead from Canon and Nikon. I don't even know that they were like number 3 or 4. They were like way down the list with their A99 DSLRs that were just kind of meh. Then they went big on mirrorless, and now they're number 1 because people saw these cameras and they went, holy cow, that's the future. And now 4.5 years later, Canon is trying to catch up with their EOS R series camera and now their EOS R5, which everyone's very excited about. But my point to all that is that that's what these companies are putting their money into. That's where they're putting their time, their energy, their resources, their future R&R is into this. R&R? R&D. Their future R&D is into mirrorless cameras, creating mirrorless camera bodies and the lenses that go with them. But the point is that every camera manufacturer is looking to mirrorless. That's the future. So if you go out and you buy a DSLR these days, it's already outdated. And if you have a DSLR, I think you should sell it, because in like 2 years, it's gonna be really devalued. Once the entire market goes mirrorless, good luck trying to sell your old DSLR. And there's plenty more that we could talk about between DSLR and mirrorless. There's seriously an hour or 2 that I could spend just talking about the differences, the benefits. There are still some benefits of DSLR left. Maybe it used to be higher frame rate, it used to be longer battery life. It probably still hangs on to longer battery life on a DSLR, and I still think that most DSLRs are more robust than mirrorless cameras. So they're a little bit more weatherproof, they're a little bit tougher and more rugged than a mirrorless camera. A mirrorless camera is leaning more towards the computerization of the full camera. Like, you know how an iPhone really isn't a phone, it's more of a computer that can make phone calls. Our new mirrorless cameras are getting to the point where they are more of computers that can take pictures. But for today, that is where I'm gonna leave you. I'm gonna leave you with a very brief overview of what a DSLR versus a mirrorless camera is, how they operate, and why I think you'd be nuts to buy a DSLR in 2020, and you should only be looking at mirrorless cameras of whatever brand you like best. I'm currently shooting Sony, but Canon's R5 sure has me looking at Canon. But those are just my opinions. What do you guys think? I know there's a bunch of you DSLR shooters right now that are just steaming mad and already probably commenting below. But yeah, what do you guys think? DSLR versus mirrorless in 2020. Give me a reason it makes sense to buy a DSLR. Maybe that they're on sale because it's older technology that they're all going on sale. But with 50,000 of you subscribers out there now, I'm sure somebody has a good reason why somebody should buy a DSLR in 2020 over a mirrorless. I just can't think of one. Let me know though. More videos for sure this week, at least one more video, maybe two. I think that's all I got. DSLR shooters are gonna be so angry about this video. But they'll also be wrong. They'll be angry, but they'll be wrong.